folks, and welcome to another edition of the Hats Hits IG Live Special. We said we wouldn't do this anymore, but we're back. We called a big fat fib. Yes, we did. As we're here with all of you on this Friday after round 2 of the high school football playoffs VHSL style. I am a double dipper. That's correct. Too much dipping on this day. Way too much. All right, if you're watching on CoVA Sports TV on YouTube or X or Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Virginia Preps, all those different places, Instagram, we welcome all of you. As it was a busy night of high school football playoffs, and if you're watching on those other platforms besides IG, you can see the brackets that I have updated as we go through it tonight. Let's give you the headline storylines. Game of the night was in Richmond. Thomas Dale and Manchester. If you haven't seen Zach's video from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Zach Joaquin, it's unbelievable. You have to check it out. Thomas Dale has the lead most of the night. Manchester catches him to knot it up at 21-all, and Manchester has the ball around midfield, maybe a little bit further midfield, probably headed for overtime. They throw a pass towards the end zone, Hail Mary, and I hope I'm not butchering this young man's name. Vincent Charavier Jr., I'm sure I butchered it. I don't mean to. But this is one of the plays of the year, and it should be on SportsCenter. And it's got to be on top 10 plays. They should just do away with SportsCenter top 10 plays. But my goodness gracious, Vicente Chavarria Jr. goes 99 yards to the house. No, they didn't choke Lamar for out there watching it. They didn't choke like some of these college basketball teams do with a 12-point lead with 3 minutes to go. There was no choking involved. This was unbelievable. Now, Manchester, I'm shocked they didn't tackle this young man. But what a job to go 99 yards to the house. This is the play of his life in a playoff game to go to distance. And it was a lot better than James Harrison of the Steelers against my Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl, where I thought Larry Fitzgerald would tackle him, and he tried to before halftime. But the Cardinals came back and took the lead. Problem was they had to play defense and didn't do it very well in the last 2 minutes. You can't blame that on Warner and Fitzgerald. You can blame that on Aaron Francisco, which I still do. And I will till my dying day. But what a job. Kevin Tucker's Knights had lost the last 5 times in the playoffs. And he's going to attempt to join us on 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV coming up on Saturday. We say hey to Zipper out there. If you're watching, you can interact with us, all the different platforms. We encourage you to do so through IG, Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're tuning in from. But what a game that was. The other big story in Richmond that was a stunner, not so much the outcome, but the margin of the outcome. You had an undefeated Verina team. I'm sorry, undefeated Dinwiddie team. It's been a long day, folks. I had 2 ODU basketball games to call, and I'm sleep deprived. And I'm probably going to have a lot of slip-ups here, but I don't intend to have slip-ups. Dinwiddie was undefeated at 11-0. And you say, well, who'd they play? Well, they beat Highland Springs this year in overtime on Highland Springs' field. They beat Thomas Dale, who we just talked about. Home field, playing Verina, and Verina just spanked them. Took them behind the woodshed. What a job by that Blue Devils defense for Verina. We know about Damari Carter, the wide receiver who's all-world for Verina. We know about who's burned them before in the postseason. We know about Caleb Weiss, the quarterback who's been on there, couldn't go to bed watching USC Troy overtime, triple overtimes. That was a crazy game, by the way. That's right. It was up till 3 a.m. watching that game. I was kind of fading in and out, but I watched it. Verina's defense shuts out Dinwiddie for 4 quarters. Last time Dinwiddie got shut out was 2018 by Hopewell in the regular season. The last time Dinwiddie got shut out in the playoffs, we're talking donuts, did not score. You got to go back to 1987 against the Justices of John Marshall. This wasn't basketball. This was football. John Marshall blanked them 29-0 in the playoffs in Richmond, and justice was not served for Dinwiddie. But Verina, that defense, defense wins championships. This is going to be my motto of the night and my theme of the night because I'm already getting asked about Stonebridge and Riverbend, which is coming up to be a colossal. I said when the playoffs started, I said late in the regular season as we're getting ready for playoffs, the region championship game I'm most looking forward to out of all 16 possible region championships all 24 region championships possible of the 6 classifications, 4 per region. So 6 times 4 is 24, not 16. Again, my math is sketchy as we pass midnight here on the East Coast into Saturday morning. But out of all 24 potential region championships, the one that I was most looking forward to was Stonebridge Riverbend. And I'll get to that in a minute. Stonebridge has an awesome defense. Riverbend has an electric offense. But this Varina defense, when you look at that region where they have the likes of Huguenot and Louisa coming up tomorrow, or I should say on Saturday, in a major showdown in the semis, this Varina defense has shown it's as elite as just about any out there. And line of scrimmage is where it starts with Jason Bull Richardson, and then the linebacker core with Braylon Hood and those guys, and then they have defensive backs. They can rip it away from you. And they look like they're on a mission right now. After losing in the state finals to Phoebus, they're on a different level right now. The score that surprised me the most on this night, besides the Varina Dinwiddie margin, which caught my eye, is going to Class 1. Alta Vista, we've had pretty much in our top 5 to top 10 all year long. There were 3 teams that began the postseason 4-6 that got to the region semis, that had an opportunity to make it 6-6 on the year and reach the region championship weekend on Thanksgiving weekend next week. And those teams were Hopewell, which came up just short against its rival Petersburg. The other 2 were Brentsville District and Buffalo Gap. Brentsville District did not get it done against Kettle Run. It was all Kettle Run, 35-12. But Buffalo Gap, who last year had a lead going into the fourth quarter against Alta Vista, they walloped the Colonels 52-29. Didn't see it coming. Now they'll see Riverheads coming up in the Region 1B finals because Riverheads sends Sussex Central packing. And I told some people last week when they said Sussex Central is going to win that region for sure, I said, not so fast. Alta Vista's in there. Well, now you got a 5 versus a 3. And you also have a 5 versus a 3 in Region 1C where it's George Wythe advancing, beating Giles, who beat them just a couple weeks ago, to take on Grayson County. So real quickly, second round of the playoffs, we had a total of 48 games, 96 schools, and we had different outcomes in several games. We talked about this in the quarterfinal round. We had different outcomes in several games. Another one of the games we had a different outcome in was in Class 6 Region D, where you've got the Madison Warhawks avenging its loss to Centerville, beating the Wildcats 35-34 in overtime. But enough of the chit-chat. Let's just get down to the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of things here. We've got some region finals set across the board. We do have some games on Saturday to decide who's going to play for region title games as well in various classifications. But let's get to them and some of the takeaways from this night, because I didn't do my 5 Twitter or X tweets on this particular night. But let's go to them, take them from the top, from 6 on down to 1 here as we give them to you on this edition of the program. You have Oscar Smith and Thomas Dale. Thomas Dale's on cloud 9. This is a nice story. You know, this isn't 2009 in the mud when Thomas Dale under the late great Vic Williams stunned Philip Sims and the Tigers. This is an Oscar Smith team coming off a 50 burger, a 50 spot of L.C. Bird, Dale's Chester rival. And I'm sorry. Look, Smith right now with Lonnie Andrews III operating that offense, they have so many weapons from Travis Johnson to Charles McGlown to Trayshawn Bradley. They can run it with Tajay Curtis, Breon Gibson. The defense is just smothering right now with Narad Jarvis leading that pass rush. I have a hard time seeing Dale getting multiple scores and extending a lead if they're able to get it against Smith. This feels like Smith's all the way to take it, not as appealing. Region 6B, Colonial Forge goes for 2 late after a touchdown. They don't get it. They recover the onside kick with under 2 minutes to go and a back-and-forth type of high-scoring game, but Woodbridge holds them off. Woodbridge's offense against that Forge defense that was coming off a shutout, it showed it's for real. Now they see North Stafford. And if you recall, so get out of the screen for a second here to grab my touchpad, my handy touchpad. North Stafford and Woodbridge played earlier this year. And I bring that up because North Stafford lost 2 games pretty much at the buzzer by 1 to Forge, their Commonwealth District rival, and to Battlefield. They avenged the loss to Battlefield 21-6. Not a shock at all. Predicted it, saw it coming, thought they'd win. Didn't think it'd be by 15, but I thought they'd win by a score, maybe score and a half if we want to call it that. Woodbridge's only loss was to North Stafford. Now you go back to that game, 42-35. I don't think North Stafford wants to get in a high-scoring game with Woodbridge again because the way Caleb Tucker's throwing the football, they might not be as fortunate this go-round. North Stafford's defense has stepped it up a bit in the playoffs. I'm not sure this Woodbridge defense, which has given up 21 to Patriot, 34 to Colonial Forge, certainly maybe more equipped offenses right now or balanced offenses than what Independence and Battlefield pose. I don't know that Woodbridge's defense is going to be able to rise up to a certain level. So I give the edge to North Stafford. Would not be surprised, though, because Woodbridge, they're really feeling themselves. They've got to like their receiving core to go with the passing attack, and they've developed into a team that feels like it can go move on to the state playoffs. That game's a lot closer than I would have thought maybe several weeks ago. Occoquan Region 6C, you have West Springfield Lake Braddock. It's the rematch. Braddock blew the last meeting. They have to feel like they can get this one. Question is going to be, though, this West Springfield defense may be a little sneaky good here. They hold Fairfax down to 7. We know about Javon Austin. We know about Booby Wickham running the football for West Springfield. Lake Braddock's quarterback, though, Ty Jackson, the Norfolk State commit, has put it into overdrive here in the playoffs. He's had multiple touchdown runs in both rounds. So West Springfield's going to have to deal with his legs as well as his arm, but his rushing element, which he's had to show more of with Peyton Holmes' injury, that's going to be a factor in that region championship game. Going down to 6D, it is Madison, it is Westfield. These are two rivals. These are two games that can go, two teams that can go down to the wire anytime they play each other, whether it's regular season or the playoffs. Centerville was a little bit young on defense, a little bit iffy there, and it showed and it bit them in the butt in this matchup. Madison just has that been-there-before mentality. Westfield's got to go beat them again. And while I think Westfield has maybe more pop explosiveness with Malachi Lee and Wesley Flamer at linebacker, this Madison team, they know how to operate and function in the playoffs, and Justin Counts is one heck of a coach. I don't put anything past him. This team did not look like a team that could go on to states, and here they are at 7-4, 8-4, looking like 500 most of the year. They played a challenging schedule. That's going to be a doozy of a game in Region 6D, and I believe it's a Saturday 1 o'clock kick. You also have a Saturday or a Friday 1 o'clock kick, to my knowledge, with Stonebridge and Riverbend, which we're going to get to in 5D. Let's get to 5A. Green Run beats Salem 28-7. Maybe not enough love for that Green Run defense, which was leaking a little bit earlier midseason. Now they're starting to step it up here. And they're going to need to against this freshman quarterback for Indian River and Lord Malik Carew, who is now continuing to ascend into not just one of the best freshmen in the state, but one of the best quarterbacks, bar none in the state. The game with Cox was 7-3 at the break and in the late stages of the third quarter. And then if you blinked, it was 42-3 as Lord Malik Carew, our reigning Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week, goes 21 of 27 through the air for 339 and 4 touchdown passes. You say, big deal. Cox is from the Beach District. They're not as tough as everybody says, blah, 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 blah. Well, look, Cox coming in hadn't given up more than 28 points all year. They were allowing just 12 points per game. They held Green Run at 20. Indian River lit them up with the air strikes in the second half, and I really want to see if Green Run can get that quarterback off his game. They've got to get a pass rush to him because I don't know right now if anybody's got the defensive personnel on the back end to stop him through the air the way he is playing right now with confidence that is just oozing through the roof. I know the Stallions have weapons. I know they got Charles Jackson going to ODU at running back. I know they have receivers like Xavier and Cleveland making the highlight reel grabs. I know all that. I get all that. The last 2 times these games have been down to the wire classics. I do not expect a blowout for either team. I think this one is hanging in the balance in the fourth quarter where it could go either way. Has the makings to be one of the tougher games to call in all of the region championships, whether it's Class 5, Class 6, 4, 3, you name it. There you have it. Interesting. Just got a note that we'll talk about that coming up in the Class 2 chit-chat or chatters, we'll say. Let's go back further down here to Class 5, Region B. It's Maury It's Kings Fork. It's Kings Fork hosting Maury. And if I know Doreen McCain and the Commodores, and I know Mike Privet, and I know that coaching staff like I think I do and I do, they're going to use this as fuel. They're going to feel like they've been disrespected. It's as if they were ranked. It's a seeding process. They should be hosting this game in Norfolk. They're two-time defending state champs. They have to go to Suffolk to play Kings Fork. Bulldogs, I'm a little bit concerned about the back end. I saw some of the highlights. Bethel hit him for a couple big pass plays, and I did not think Bethel would score 28. I know Bethel has a legit offense, and it's really come to life here down the stretch. But I say all that to say Damo Everett, we talked about Lord Malik Carew ascending. Damo Everett, another recent Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week selection. Throws for 227 and 4 touchdowns, 14 of 18. He finds Vonnie Wiggins, Tayshawn Branch, Elijah Moss, Damon McDaniel Jr. Can the Kings Fork secondary rise up? And if not make Maury one-dimensional, can they take something away? Can they, we talked about Green Run getting a pass rush on Malik Carew with their edge guys like Cam Johnson and the guys they have off the edge. Can Kings Fork with Joshua Pittman at linebacker, that front four, not to blitz as much, can they get pressure? Because if you're blitzing, Maury's going to dissect that, diagnose it, and they're going to hit some guys with the screens. You over pursue, they take that to the house real quickly. And I think Branch, he hasn't had that breakout game in the playoffs yet. He could be saving it. That's going to be a big deal. Now we know Kings Fork's offense is quietly humming along. They have receivers that can test the Maury defense too now with Zadarius Wynn and Anthony Henderson Jr. This is a game where Kings Fork's have to throw the football to win. I know they've been running it really well with Isaiah Gilliam and Preston Hall before he went down. Multiple back to the 100-plus yards. This is a game where they got to throw it to win because I don't think you're going to run it just to win. I know that the thought process is to shorten the game, methodical. I don't think that's going to be the way you get it done. Let's go to 5C where you have the 5. I didn't put it in the bracket. We apologize. Highland Springs, though, 37-7 over William Fleming, all over the Colonels. Antoine Buddy Richardson leading the way for the Springers there. PH Roanoke, the 1 seed, goes down to Hermitage. Hermitage gets them on the road. They go to Roanoke. Very impressive win. And tell you what, Cam Hairston Taylor is really, really good. But Avery Curtis for Hermitage really led the way. Now, Hermitage, special teams and injuries, from what I understand, did PHN, but Hermitage had 17 penalties for 165 yards. If they have that against Highland Springs, and they played a classic game here recently, that game was 31-28. Highland Springs won it over Hermitage back on October 24th. If they have those type of penalties, this game will not be close. Plain and simple. They got to clean that up here against the Springers. It'll be lights out, and Highland Springs moves on to the States. But if I had to look ahead and just project off the top of my head here initially, you get the chalk to, the favorites to move on, which doesn't always happen. You're looking at with the way they cross bracket now. Again, this way they cross brackets. Class 6, you're looking at a state semifinal potentially of Westfield or Madison. Maybe let's say Westfield hosting Oscar Smith. They have history of both those schools, by the way, especially Westfield. And 6B is going to host 6C. So you might have a North Stafford host a Lake Braddock. I'm not sure a ton of people saw North Stafford or Lake Braddock in the state championship in Class 6. And that looks like a really distinct possibility. If not those two, you're looking at Woodbridge or West Springfield, which is even more of a long shot start of the year. If you were doing your odds boards, it'd be like your teams in the NFL playoffs, like the Indianapolis Colts and Seattle Seahawks. Didn't have that back in August. Your Class 5, you're looking at potentially a deal where Green Run would host a Highland Springs in the state semis, and a Stonebridge would host a Maury. But Stonebridge has got their hands full. Their defense is great. This Riverbend offense, though, has not really been slowed down whatsoever. So it's the great irresistible force versus immovable object. The Stonebridge defense with 7 shutouts, 5 consecutive. I was gushing earlier about how great Varana's defense is. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to make people mad across the board, and I don't give a darn. I don't care. I know there's some great offenses out there, Riverbends and Maury's and Green Runs. And you go up to Class 6, Oscar Smith. The way Stonebridge's defense has been playing this year with all kinds of ballers, Langston Pridgeon, who gets offered by Georgia. Will Garlick's got the story up on Virginia Preps. Kedrick Golston's son, the linebacker, who was player of the year in the district, going to Tennessee. Chase Jeter and Zeke Wimbush. They've given up more than 7 points only once this year. That was to Quince Orchard of Maryland, one of the best teams around. I'm not sure there's an offense that's going to light them up. And when I say light them up, hit them for 3 touchdowns or more. I'm not sure that it's out there. So it's just going to be a matter of, can your defense bottle them up and win a game that's 14-7 or 10-7 or 13-10 or 20-14? And that can happen. I'm not saying Stonebridge is invincible, but this defense, statistically speaking, and the teams they played, and they're not all great, but they've played some good teams on a schedule, like Madison, who's still alive, and Quince Orchard. It's going to stack up with some of the better defenses in the state here lately in the last several years. We're talking about like the Phoebus defenses, and this defense is playing at an elite level. So we're going to see if Riverbend's offense, which has just been shaking and baking all year long with Ian Shook at the controls and Camden Simmons as that dual threat, rushing and catching, we're going to see if they can do it against that type of defense. Really curious to see if it does take place. You go to Class 4. And you've got the winner of Hampton Phoebus set to play Lafayette. Lafayette with Joshua Simpson, Bay Rivers Player of the Year. Their defense has just been consistent and strong, and they're just workmanlike. They go about their business. I know most people will give Hampton Phoebus the edge, and I totally understand that. I'm going to go back to what I keep saying. Defense wins. Defense wins this time of the year. And Lafayette's defense might be equipped enough to slow down or certainly contain what Hampton and Phoebus present offensively. I think the Crabbers take that with Phoebus again. I think Phoebus has too many holes defensively right now to fill them all, and Churchland nearly knocked them off last week, but I like Lafayette's defense a lot there. And again, sticking with defense, Varina's going to see either Huguenot or Louisa. Those two teams can erupt, but so could Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie didn't do anything on them. So Huguenot and Louisa, you're going to find another way to stay in that game and manufacture yards and points. We're going to find out real quickly. Loudoun County, Loudoun Valley, it's a rematch. Loudoun County won the last encounter fairly comfortably. They beat them back in October on the 10th, 31-7. I'll go on the record saying now that it's not going to be that lopsided. And I'll also say I would not be surprised if Loudoun Valley got the rematch. That's one where the outcome could reverse again. GW Danville rallies from an early deficit to beat Sharando. They'll host either Jefferson Forest or Hanley. I feel like Jefferson Forest is physical enough if they get through the Hanley game, but GW's offense is pretty electric. They've been humming ever since that season opening loss, and they have to feel like they can win a higher scoring game with anybody, especially when they beat Magna Vista the way they did to end the regular season. And take their, at the time, 9th straight win. Now it's 11 in a row and counting. They have 4 or 5 different rushing options. They don't rely on just one back, which I think is going to be a luxury for them. They're going to reseed for Class 4, 4 highest power ratings. So if I had to project with the top teams, if they were to get through and they didn't in 4B, you're looking at something like, let's say, even though I might pick it differently, Hampton and Loco and Varina for now because of what they just did, and GW Danville, you would get a scenario where 1 hosts 4, 2 hosts 3 in terms of power rating. So in that scenario, Varina would have the highest power rating, followed by GW, then Hampton and Loudoun County seat, and they would all be 4, 5, 6, 7. Varina would host Loudoun County. GW Danville would host Hampton. How about that for 2 programs with rich traditions and passionate fan bases? Hampton have to leave Darling, the confines, have to go out to GW Danville. Man, would that be something. Class 3, Lake Taylor gets by Norcom. Good night for Kevin Adams and Matt Gerald Clark and Hank Slayer's Titans. They'll get Petersburg. They were tied early with Hopewell. Hopewell had someone go down, but Petersburg able to win it. Their defense has given up 7 the last 2 weeks. Their defense has got to rise up against Lake Taylor's running game and Keon Johnson. I'm not sure they can do it for 4 quarters, maybe for a segment or 2. I think Lake Taylor gets through. I think they do. I've said it from day one. That bracket looks like it's their region to lose, or in this case, win. They'll win it. Same deal for Kettle Run. They get by Brentsville. Skyline slips by with Zayden Burks, one of the best backs in the state. Culpepper, who looked really, really outstanding against Goochland. Like Kettle Run a lot there. Here's the great rematch. Oh, I was there on Halloween, and I told you it's the best game I've seen all year long. Heritage Lynchburg against Liberty Christian, the two-time defending state champs who came in as a number 6 seed, pretty much because they lost a game out of state to start the year, and they lost a game with 7 lead changes, 35-33 to the Pioneers back on Halloween night when it was spooky with tricks or treats. This one will have some tricks. It will have some treats. For the fans there, it ought to be a great game. I give the edge to Heritage of Lynchburg still. I think even though they lost David Bradley at running back, Coach Brad Bradley, no relation, has said the most physical football team wins. And I think their physicality, it wears you down after 48 minutes. And I think they will do some different things defensively in terms of disguising coverages and blitzes. And I don't think LCA goes up and down the field on them. The last couple of games, they've had more of a struggle in terms of moving it and scoring. And Wilson Memorial and Broadway are some, fairly competent foes here. Let's be honest. They were good teams that won 9 games in regular season out of 10. Heritage, another really good team, and I think they'll make corrections on defense, and they'll win this game a little bit different type of score. I think it'll be competitive throughout, but I give the Pioneers the edge here. They need Luke Gaither to go off again, do the Bulldogs to have a shot in that one. Magna Vista, my oh my, did they erupt. Didn't put Lord Botetourt through there, and I made the bad pick. I admit it, Jamie Harless. I knew you had a chance, but I didn't pick you guys against William Byrd, and I hope you use it as motivation against the Terriers. But you got them 35-21. Botetourt absolutely got rocked late in the regular season against William Fleming. Ironic that Botetourt's still playing in the region championship and Fleming is not. But here they are against Magna Vista, chance to go back to the state playoffs. Been going there a few years ago. Joe Favero's Warriors, though. Simeon Moore sets a milestone at quarterback. Ethan Dukes at running back. They have put up 120 points in 2 playoff games. And Botetourt can do it. I'm not shocked if they do, but I just think it's going to be hard for that defense to slow down the big play breakaway ability that Magna Vista has with that quarterback and that running back. I think it's too much. Class 3 is going to cross bracket, or I should say, not really cross bracket. It's going to be 3A versus 3D, 3B versus 3C, highest power rating. So if we projected ahead what's going to happen, what we thought from day one, we're going to get Lake Taylor hosting Magna Vista, if I was to project or predict with your chalk, your number 1 seeds. I mean, the 1 seeds win, but if they did. And then you would get Heritage Lynchburg and Kettle Run, and Heritage Lynchburg would host them. And I've sort of thought for a long while it'd be a Heritage Lynchburg Magna Vista final, and I'm not jumping off that just yet. Class 2, Armstrong Poquoson. This is where I think home field advantage matters. Armstrong had a real struggle with TJ Richmond. I said for a week or two now I thought TJ would get the rematch. They didn't quite put up another good fight. Poquoson really rammed it down the throat of Southampton and Greensville. I don't know if they can do that and shorten the game with Armstrong. They're going to have to, because Armstrong's passing attack and their wide open, spread out ability can be a little much for the Bull Islanders, even as strong as they are on defense for all 48 minutes. This is an interesting contrast of styles. It is at Armstrong. I think that helps them out. And they got through the tough game for them, I felt, with TJ of Richmond. Poquoson won't be an easy game, a pushover game. But if Poquoson gets behind, can they throw their way back in the game? That's the real question mark that you wonder about. Yeah, they took out Southampton, Coach Barrett. They did. Class 2 Region B, it's Strasburg versus Stewart's Draft. Buckingham got knocked out as the 2 seed. Strasburg, I think, is on a mission to get back to the state semis. Remember, they lost in the state finals last year to Graham. And I think the Strasburg team has enough experience to get through and battle their way over a Stewart's Draft team that has had a solid year, but not a spectacular year. I think Strasburg has a little more firepower. Class 2 Region C. Now, Brody Doyot, his injury was the real concern for Glenver coming in. They've been our number 1 team all year long in Class 2. Heard from a man, Rodney Young, out there that he played, threw for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns, also rushed for a score against Radford, so he's back. Might have like a brace on his shoulder, but he's playing. And if he's playing, Glenver, I think, is going to get it done against Gretna, who could not get stops in a game that was like a basketball score with Floyd County 56-55. Is it hoop season? Almost is for those teams. Gretna, nice year, but I think Glenver, if they have Doyot at 100% or close to full strength, they're going to take it. Now, I don't want to start things that I've heard on this particular night, but the news is very troubling and concerning coming out of Union as they head into Saturday. It's been widespread reported about their coach, Travis Turner, missing. I don't want to get into all the rumors that are being posted and thrown out there. They're horrifying in some respects from what I've heard. This does have to be a distraction in some way. Now, I know communities and coaches and teams can rally behind things and tragedies and different things in life that you put into sports. And I had Union winning this game with Graham for a while. They won their first matchup. But I will say there are some circumstances that make things much more difficult, that go beyond the game of football and matter with life. And we send our best to that community and those that are involved and affected. Graham is defending champ. Graham's going to come in with something to prove and a chip on her shoulder because they lost the last time. If I could change my pick, which I'm sure you'll hear Coach Young say he wants to change his Hampton Phoebus pick, I would change my pick right now. But I'm going to stick with my pick because that's the way you do things in this world. Just like if Hampton beats Phoebus 48-12, Ed will be screaming, no, I had Hampton. He turned in his pick. It's on Virginia Preps, and he had Phoebus. So only way we're changing a pick is if Graham wins, and it keeps me from going behind him. Right now I'm down 2 games going into the night. I haven't tied up all those results from today. Lebanon and Ridgeview, both solid teams. I'm sorry, it feels like that's the consolation game. That's mean to say. It's very mean to say, and it's not meant as a disrespect to those kids, but the Union Graham winner is going to be the favorite to win 2D. And arguably, some will say the Union Graham winner is going to win the state championship. I'm not going to tell people that they're wrong if that's their feeling. There are some hurdles along the way, but you could convince me that is true. You could. And to close up shop here, Class 1, you got Essex Rappahannock. Rappahannock put up 55 on Northampton. The combination of C.J. Kelly and Kenneth Madison at quarterback and running back are mighty good, but Essex's defense has made the corrections from getting lit up a couple of times. Sussex Central at the front of the schedule, Northumberland at the back end of the schedule. They beat Northumberland much more comfortably here. That thunder and lightning tandem of Jaden Holmes and Demetrius Stewart, I think, is going to just wear down Rappahannock. They ran the same play over and over again when they met in regular season on a Saturday in the sun in Tappahannock. And Rappahannock might be going back to Rappahannock disappointed. I think Essex is just going to keep doing it. And it's a well-oiled machine, just like Riverheads in Class 1 Region B. Gladiators have so many state championships in Class 1, they're going to run out of fingers over there and toes. And they beat Sussex Central on the road. And that late season loss to Allegheny showed they were ready for prime time, for the step up in the playoffs. And Buffalo Gap is going to be so sky high from this win over Alta Vista. I don't know how they're going to get it back down for Riverheads. I think it's going to be difficult for them to do that. And also, taking into consideration, Buffalo Gap lost 29-15 on September 19th. It's not a matter where they have a lot of success against them recently. Like I pointed out in our preview on Virginia Preps, Riverheads has beaten Sussex Central every time they met in the playoffs. So that was the reason why I picked them, and here they are advancing on. George Wythe and Grayson County, the other 5-3 matchup. Wythe can win this, but I give the nod to Grayson County. Having been there before, the experience of a state championship game appearance last year, I think is going to pay dividends for that group. Led by Mr. Goad at the triggerman spot for Grayson County. And Eastside gets the winner of Rye Cove Chilhowie. Eastside's been putting up points in bunches. I'm not sure enough people in the state are talking about Eastside as a possible Class 1 champ. You hear about Essex, you hear about Riverheads because they've been there and won them before. But this Eastside team with no seniors on the roster, we could be talking about them going for a back-to-back next year as we hit mid-December, and they're playing the championship game out in Salem, Virginia. So that's going to wrap up the brackets, and let us know what you think. You can like, you can share, and subscribe to all of our content and everything we do with CoVA Sports TV. So there you have it. Quick, as I always do on this edition of the Hats Hits, parting shot on the college football scene and the NFL. A lot of people are mad about, well, they're talking about Lane Kiffin getting offered $90 million to go to LSU. You get offered $90 million and $25 million to get players or buy players. You probably have to take that, don't you? I mean, I'm not turning that down, that kind of money. If someone wants to throw me $25 million and $90 million, I'm taking it. I'm sorry. I mean, unless I'm selling my body, which nobody wants, or something that's, really gross in the sky. I mean, $90 million is $90 million. You probably not take that. So he's at Ole Miss. I said he should stay at Ole Miss, but they're just throwing some obscene amounts of money at him. He's probably going to take it. BYU Cincinnati's the game tomorrow. Is that really the game on Saturday? I mean, I'm not all that into that game. I'm really not. I think the game that grabs me the most is USC and Oregon. USC going on the road. It's a chance to be back in the national spotlight if they can pull it off at Oregon, who I don't think is as good as last year or the last couple of years. So I think it's possible. That feels like a game down to the wire. But Oregon probably ekes it out 36-32 or 28-27, something like that. It might be lower scoring, actually, than that. People are mad about, though, Notre Dame being ahead of Miami. And look, folks, you're right. You should be mad about that. But it's going to work itself out. Don't jump off the cliff for 1 week of the college football playoff show. It's going to work its way out, okay? They're both going to get in. I don't think we get to the selection day, that Sunday, in December, and it's for a last spot, unless one of those two is to trip up again. So I think it's going to be okay. I don't think we need to. I know it talks about seeding you play. If you're an 8, you play this team. If you're a 9, you play this team. If you're a 10, I get all that. But I don't think we need to be going off the deep end with that. Bills should be worried because they could miss the playoffs now. I've been picking against the Eagles a lot this year, and they keep winning most of the time. Dallas does have the offense to make things very dicey for Philadelphia. The NFL game, though, I think Pittsburgh does beat Chicago on the road. They've got all their linebackers out to the Bears. But I think the game that really is interesting to me is Colts at Chiefs, because the Chiefs now at 5-5, if they were to lose this game, I think it's a real possibility they would have missed the playoffs. I don't think they will win this game. I think this is a must-win, and Indy's cooling off a little bit. It's at Arrowhead. So I think KC and Indy, I think KC will make a statement that they're still around, and Patrick Mahomes, who's not had a great year, will step forward, probably find Travis Kelce a couple times, and Taylor Swift will be going goo-goo gaga, and all will be well in KC land until they lose another division game to the Broncos or Chargers, and then it's the world's ending. So I think they respond in the spot. I think it's they got to save their season here with this game. So there you have it. All right. We thank you all for tuning in to this latest installment. It's a late edition of the Hats Hits IG Live special. We thank all of you for watching, and we will see you noon. And I think that is the scenario. Oh, we want to do that. Oh, I missed some of these comments on the IG. Sorry about that, my man at Bird Athletics. Is the Glenver kid committed anywhere? Yes, he is. He is committed to Charlotte, but he's being recruited by UVA. So, Tony Elliott, among others, are trying to flip him. Go back and watch our interview a few weeks ago. If you can find it on the CoVA Sports TV YouTube channel. Our man Robert Anderson caught up with him. We played it on the show, also on the TV portion of the show with Coach Young and me, and he actually said he's still firm with Charlotte. We'll see if he does remain that come signing day. In Missouri or Oklahoma, Oklahoma's made me a believer. Missouri a few weeks ago did not make me a believer. Did not play well against Texas A&M, who had that great comeback last week against South Carolina. But Oklahoma's line of scrimmage play and their defense, it stepped up against Alabama, and they look like a playoff team. So give me the OU defense to make a statement. That'll do it. We'll see you next time. Some great region championship games are in store. We've got more coverage coming your way on VirginiaPreps.com and on CoVA Sports TV. And make sure you subscribe to the NFHS Network for all your coverage and live action of the games all the way through the championships. So there you have it. Alrighty, fellas, guys and gals, we'll see you next time. Later, Gators.